Hey everybody, AJ here. Welcome back to the channel. Hope we're all doing well, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually well. Um, was gone for a little bit this time again, not as long as last time. Been working, um, you know, just kind of been busy with life, so I do apologize. However, I'm making this video now. Um, so basically, this video is going to be about why. I know the title might be a little bit deceiving, but basically why homeless people don't go to the shelters or won't go to shelters. Um, so I'm going to give my reason as to why I am no longer going to the shelter. Um, I guess I guess I'll explain the main reasons why other homeless people don't go to shelters. It kind of varies person to person, but I'll give the first reason. The first reason why homeless people don't go to shelters is the people that go to the shelters. Typically, most of the time, a lot of the people that go to shelters are on drugs. It could range anywhere from weed to all the way up to meth, and some of these homeless people have alcohol addictions and go to these shelters, and basically they're so fucked up from all the drugs that they took, and a lot of them are alcoholics. I'm not saying that every single person that goes to the shelter is an alcoholic, but um, a lot of them will go to the shelter and they'll get fucked up during the day, and they'll be drunk when they're in the shelter, and a lot of them are really really mean, nasty people. um, from what I experienced and me being at the shelter. Um, and a lot of these people that go to these homeless shelters, they're honestly they're scum of the scum. They're scum of the earth. That they have so much hate and rage inside of them that they take it out on everybody else. They take their anger and all their built up just rage and take it out on other homeless people in the shelters. Um, and to add on to that part of the people that go to these homeless shelters, a lot of them, well, I shouldn't say a lot, I gotta stop saying that, but some of these homeless people um, are pedophiles, rapists, and criminals that go into these shelters because everything's provided for them: a free meal, a free shower, a bed to sleep in, a place to hang out during the day. For those of you who are new to my channel, I guess for anybody who's watching my channel, I didn't really go over it that much or explain it well, but I'm homeless in Wisconsin, specifically in Wausau. Um, there's a big homeless community here, and there's this place called Catholic Charities that I was staying at for I would say a little bit over 2 weeks. Um, just a little bit context there, but second reason why a lot of people don't go to homeless shelters is because of the staff. Um, a lot of these staff that work at the homeless shelters, and I don't know if they're all the same, but they probably are the same. Um, Probably one of the most compassionless people I've ever met, and compassionless people that have ever taken care of me. These people don't know what's really going on with a lot of these people that come in. Um, to the homeless shelters here. Not only are a lot of them, hooked on the drugs or in drinking every single day and going through withdrawals, but there's a lot of mentally ill people that come into these shelters, and I experienced it firsthand. There's a couple people that talk to themselves, and don't get me wrong, these people are not terrible people. They're not the type of people that would hurt anybody or would take their rage on other people, but you can tell just by looking at them and seeing how they are that they're messed up mentally. They're not mentally there at all. And it's really messed up because the reason why a lot of people end up mentally ill in this society nowadays is because of how everything's designed and ran in our society. You know, you're told to work a 40-hour a week job, getting paid the bare minimum to do extremely laborious work. And you know I hear people all the time from like Gen X or Gen the boomers. They'll be like, oh, a lot of these Gen Zers, they work very non-laborious jobs and stuff. They have no right to complain. It's like, you don't understand, like, a lot of these jobs that Gen Zers or young people work nowadays, they may not be physically laborious, but they're mentally laborious. Honestly, at the end of the day, like, mental is like 100% like over physical. You know what I mean? You can do things physically, but it takes mental power to do things. And if your mental health ain't there, you're not you're not getting through it. You know what I mean? It's going to be difficult. um a third reason, and this kind of goes into the first point a little bit, but it's the violence that happens at these shelters. Just not that long ago, before I left the shelter, I guess I'll explain the situation at the end of the video, kind of towards the end. But it's the violence at these shelters. It's the, that there's a fight that happened the other day, and I don't even know why these two people were fighting, but it's just this place isn't peaceful. It's a Catholic ran homeless shelter ran by the city, and a church organization. And there's people that come here, and they're violent criminals. They're violent, thuggish type people. Not all of them, but some of them come in here and they think that they're in the shelter with other people, that they can hurt other people, stab people, and do all sorts of heinous shit. And that's why a lot of people won't go to the homeless shelter, is because the violence that's there. That Here's the thing: a lot of the people that go to homeless shelters, they're not drug addicts, they're not mentally ill, they're not violent or a criminal in any sort of sense. They're just trying to get a roof over their head and have a meal and have a shower. And it's difficult when you're trying to escape homelessness. You're being surrounded by the worst of the worst. um I guess another reason as to why people won't go to homeless shelters is due to the security there. um at least at the shelter that I was at, there was cameras that were inside and outside, but there's so much limited as to what is recorded and what's not. You know what I mean? I should say, well, it's limited to what's being recorded, because a lot of these people will deal drugs or fight, and it's not being captured on camera, so a lot of people are vulnerable. um you know what I mean? It's just I don't blame people for not wanting to go to a homeless shelter. Like, that's their very last option, is to go to a homeless shelter, is because it's the type of people you're dealing with. It's not just the homeless people, but it's the staff there. you know I know this one guy that was he works at the shelter and stuff. He's a pretty young guy. I'm not going to say who he is. But he seems like a really down to earth dude. But to me, it seems like he doesn't know, like, how to really handle these homeless people, or how to deal with these mentally ill people that come in here. You know what I mean? And then there's just other staff, at the facility, that have zero compassion, They don't listen to what you need. They're just there to collect a paycheck. They're not any different. you know and and something that I thought of too is that a lot of these shelter systems are not even that they're not even trying to help people. They're simply just trying to um, wash money. They're just trying to put their money in a safe place. They're not really there to help people that actually need it. It's all a money laundering scheme. You know what I mean? It's all bullshit. You know what I mean? It's all crap. Um, Another reason, as what I can think of, is it's the power and control that these shelters have over you. It's like putting yourself in jail. It's something that Joey the Gypsy said, because he made a video. It wasn't directly on why people don't go to homeless shelters, but it was a video called "Why Homeless People Don't Get Jobs," and he was explaining a little bit about the shelter, that they have power and control over you, and they absolutely do have power and control over you. You are consenting to basically put yourself in jail. And the homeless shelters and jail are not much different from each other, except you're not put in handcuffs, but you are voluntarily putting yourself in a position of you being controlled by strangers, basically. That the staff members there take your stuff. You're not even allowed to access to your stuff unless you are leaving the shelter, or you need to grab something. In my experience, some of the staff members let me grab my stuff, like my charger or my headphones, if I put it in my bag on accident. You know what I mean? So it's just, you got to hand your stuff over. You got to wear scrubs, or it's almost like wearing a jail uniform. And what I will say about the food is the food's pretty decent most of the time, but that there's just some days where you're just being fed just bottom of the barrel shit. But that won't matter to a homeless person if a homeless person hasn't eaten and stuff. But you got to understand that a lot of these homeless people, especially where I am, they go into the shelter, and that's all they live off of is the shelter system. They don't try to find any means of working a job. They don't find any means of sobering up. They don't find any means to clean themselves up, whatever issues they have going on. So they stick to these shelters. And a lot of these people that stay in these shelters are just absolute, just, again, scum of the earth. They're abusive towards other people. They're abusive towards the staff. They're abusive to other homeless people. They're terrible people. And again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not talking about every single homeless person, because I've seen some homeless people that are in there trying to get their life back. They're trying to get into an apartment. They're trying the homeless outreach thing, which, I mean, if you really want to talk about the homeless outreach thing, I think that's a pile of shit too. It's not really about helping people. It's just about moving money, washing money, and they don't real they're not they don't have your best interest at heart. You know what I mean? Um, I feel like I'm missing a lot of points, but um, I guess I'll explain my personal reasons why I don't stay at the shelter anymore. Um, or at least I won't sleep there during the night anymore, or just stay there during the day. Um, so I just kind of want to say again, I stayed at the shelter. It's called Catholic Charities in Wausau, Wisconsin. I'm not really too worried about giving my information out or where I am, just because it's a place in Wisconsin. Who cares? You know what I mean? Um, so basically, the reason why I ended up leaving the shelter is because I was just tired of all the people that I was around. I was tired of taking the abuse from a lot of these homeless people. Um, like, I was being surrounded by drug addicts. I was being surrounded by rapists and pedophiles, and um, and a lot of the staff members were not very nice at all. They were very compassionate. They just had no compassion. and they don't know how to talk to a homeless person. They don't know what to say to a homeless person. You know what I mean? It's just they don't know how to handle these people. Like they don't know how to do their jobs. Um, and I didn't like the feeling of being stuck in a building um, when you go in at night, because when you go in at night you they said you are committed to staying the night, basically. Like you cannot leave the building, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, because what kind of power and control can you have over somebody that doesn't want to stay at the shelter? You know what I mean? It's just, again, it's just, it feels like jail, except you're not in cuffs and these people don't have badges and guns. But I'm going to explain what happened yesterday that led me to not staying at the shelter. So there are these two homeless people that are staying there, and they're absolute just pieces of shit. You know, they're just scum. They're just they're like the low tier homeless people. They're the absolute worst. Basically they were making fun of my weight because I'm a bigger male. I'm a bigger guy. I've always been bigger, and you know they'll say like, "Oh, you fat prick," or "you fat fucker." They'll call me names and stuff, and it's just like I don't want to deal with this shit. You know, I come to the shelter to get away and try to get a roof over my head and not to be abused by other homeless people, and then you know, I just don't want to feel like I'm putting myself in jail or in a position to where I'm losing my freedom. You know what I mean? Um, it's just so like this was going on for 3 days. You know, basically what happened is I was talking to this. I basically was talking to this one homeless person, and I was explaining to him that I shouldn't have worded it this way, but I basically said that when you're homeless, or basically when you're in a situation of homelessness, after a while everything becomes a choice. You know, everything's a choice. If you choose to keep drinking and doing drugs, or you know, not getting a job or getting your life together, I feel like it's a choice. And he's like, no, it is not a choice. And I'm explaining to him, I'm telling him why, and I'm trying to reason with this guy, and then another homeless person was like telling me to go fuck myself, and you're not shit, you won't do anything to me, kind of basically trying to egg on a fight. And I'm not trying to get into a fight at the shelter, you know, and the shelter is known for fights and physical altercations taking place all the time. And I was ignoring him, and then there's this other homeless guy that I talked to for a little bit. For some weird reason, we just had a falling out. You know, he started targeting me. This other homeless person started targeting me again. They would make fun of the fact that I'm half Mexican and that I'm fat, fat fuck, fat prick, you know, all that shit, you know. And it's just after 3 days, you know, I had enough of it. You know, I went to a staff member in the shelter, which I mean, she's an absolute bitch. I mean, she sucks. She can't do her job, and she doesn't know how to talk to homeless people. So that's another reason I stayed away from the shelter, was due to the staffing and how it's ran there. Um, so I basically go up to her. I'm like, "Is there a cot I can sleep in? That I don't want to sleep in this room full of people that are verbally abusing me, pretty much, you know." And so she goes in, she follows me, and then she points to a cot over at the room. And then basically I just started letting it all out. I looked the two guys in the eyes, and I'm like, "You're talking shit. You're talking shit. That's all you've been doing is talking shit the last 3 days. You won't say it to my face. Like, say it right now to my face, you know, in front of the staff member." And then they're just sitting there acting confused, acting like they didn't do anything wrong, which I mean, a lot of people, you know, if you call out a narc, or if you call out somebody who has been doing you wrong and they act like they're the victim and stuff, it's most likely that they've done something to you and they just don't want to admit to it. They don't like being called out on the spot. I'm basically telling them that they've been talking shit, and, you know, just calling them out, basically, just letting all my anger out on these people. And the staff member was like, "You need to knock it off. I'm going to call the cops and give you a strike." And this homeless shelter doesn't believe in a life ban, so they will give you rather a 10-day strike, or after, like, I think it's like a couple of 10-day strikes, they'll give you a 30-day strike. They don't believe in lifetime bans, which I think is pretty stupid in my opinion, because if you let the same abusive types of homeless people come into the shelter and abuse everyone around them, no one's going to want to be there. No one's going to want to be in this homeless shelter. So, I mean, it's counterproductive, you know? Because here's the thing, though. It's like they complain about all the stuff that happens at these shelters. At the specific shelter, the staff members are like, there's THC on the property, or people are getting into fights. People are talking crap to each other. People are doing this. It's like, it's because you're not holding the homeless people accountable. You're not holding these people accountable to what they're doing to other people. So no shit, Sherlock. No, nothing's gonna get solved if you don't do anything about it. That's basically what it. I didn't say this, but this is what I think. So I ended up grabbing my stuff, and I basically told the lady. I didn't say it directly to her, but I said, "Fuck a strike, screw your rules, screw you." I'm leaving the shelter. I leave. I get all my stuff, and the guy that helped me get my stuff in the tow, he was being a dick to me now all of a sudden, because I ain't dealing with it, bro. I ain't dealing with these abusive people in here. I ain't dealing with low piles of trash that are on the street. You know what I mean? That come into these shelters. These snakes, these slimy snakes that come into these shelters. So I end up leaving for the night, and I haven't been back since. I'm pretty sure I have a 10-day strike. Um, now there is one little exception that I will make to go back to the shelter. And no, it's not to stay the night at the shelter. It's just to get a shower, because they offer shower services during the day, and they only offer it during certain times of the hour. So, I may have screwed up. I may have screwed myself out of free food and a shower and a place to sleep. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I would much rather stick up for myself and show that I have self-respect for myself than put myself in a position where I'm being abused and people are stripping away my self-respect by putting me down, calling me this, calling me that, and this and that and the other thing. You know what I mean? It's just, I appreciate my self-respect more than staying in these shelters, because again, these shelter systems are just, they're all it's just only there to wash money. The city does not care about homeless people. The city would rather just fine homeless people, give them citations when they're already struggling to get back up on their feet. So you're going to charge them hundreds and thousands of more dollars to make up, and if they can't pay that, you send them to jail. It's like, what logic does this system make? What logic does the government make? So, and it's just, I try to have compassion for other homeless people. I've tried to be empathetic and try to understand these people, but it's just some of these people that come in here, they just don't give a shit anymore. They are done trying, so they take literally, they take their problems on other homeless people. They abuse other people. So I guess that's my video for today. Let me know what you think. Like, what are your reasons for not staying in a homeless shelter? Have you stayed in a homeless shelter? Let me know if you have, and what it was like. Um, but yeah, that's my video for today. So give it a like, subscribe if you're new. If you are new to my channel, check out my other videos. I have other videos on homelessness. I do have the next 2 days off, so expect another video in the next 2 days. I do want to talk about some topics here, some subjects. So thanks for rocking with me, those who have been watching my content. Thank you. And we'll see y'all later. Bye.